am your host on Inside Vietnam.
This is a fantastic market because of the strength of the population.
You have to Vietnamize your content here.
I would tell them to come on board, tell them what they like, or give them what they like.
Vietnam is a very, very dynamic and exciting market.
Greetings everyone, my name is Phi Nguyen and I'm your host on Inside Vietnam. Vietnam is recently seen as a very attractive destination for foreign investors with an improved business environment and rising trade confidence index. Now, according to the Global Enabling Trade Index Report 2010 released by the World Economic Forum, Vietnam's ranking has jumped 18 places from the number 89 in 2009 to number 71 in 2010 among 125 economies worldwide. According to the 2010 FDI Confidence Index released by A.T. Kearney, Vietnam ranked number 12 out of more than 80 countries to be most trusted by international investing community. So despite the coming behind China, India, Brazil, Germany, and Poland on the list of the 5 most attractive investment destinations, Vietnam still tops the list of Southeast Asian nations, followed by Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. In order to provide the investment communities with sufficient and up-to-date information about Vietnam as a rising market in Southeast Asia and in the global economy, Inside Vietnam will bring you the insights into the market through our in-depth interviews with 26 experts who are investors or managing foreign investment firms in Vietnam in various key sectors. We're very happy today to have Mr. Ralph Matthias on the show, on our first show. And the topic of the show is regional segmentation and overview of the market. Just a short bio on Ralph. Ralph established TNS Vietnam in 1996 as part of the TNS Global Group. His responsibilities not only cover the 10 offices of TNS nationwide, but also includes Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. TNS is currently servicing such multinational clients as Unilever, Ford, IBM, Nokia, GE Money, AIG, UNICEF, and covers key sectors which includes automotive, business and finance, FMCG, healthcare, technology, retail, media, and social and public research. Thank you very much, Ralph, for joining us today to be on the first show. Probably the first question I would ask would be your personal confidence level towards Vietnam as a market.
As you say, I've been here 16 years. And to be honest, as someone who works for a global company, it's not typically my investment. I'm actually working for someone's investment. But having said that, I myself am investing in Vietnam right now in the format of a property and a home. And I can also say the last 5-6 years is what's actually changed my viewpoint on Vietnam in terms of feeling confident and comfortable.
Let's start with the first question. Everybody talks about Vietnam, and Vietnam is on the rise at the moment. Would you be able to give us an overview of the population and demographics of Vietnam?
Vietnam's population has grown by roughly about almost 1 million people a year for about the past 15, 16 years. So today our population is about 86 million people, okay? Having said that, that actually makes Vietnam the 6th largest population in Asia and the 13th largest globally. Vietnam actually has a very controlled population growth, and it's something that the government is actually quite concerned about.
So what's the urban and suburban or rural split in Vietnam at the moment, and how's that impacting the consumer market in Vietnam?
Presently, you've got about 30% of the population that lives in urban Vietnam, and 70% that is in rural Vietnam. Suffice it to say, urban Vietnam, the 10 key cities, actually make up 29% or 30% of the population, but 50% of the GDP in terms of the cities themselves.
Oh, okay.
But if you look at the actual split, rural Vietnam holds 60% of GDP and urban Vietnam holds 40%. So the point simply is that there's still a huge amount of opportunity with respect to population demographics. On average, a city like Ho Chi Minh City, which is 7.5 million, has roughly about 200,000 Vietnamese moving into the city every year. Hanoi, which is officially about 6.5 million, is obviously the second largest city, and then you have Haiphong and a few others. but there's actually only 4 cities and over 1 million people, but 2 of them are mega cities, and that's Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City.
The Ministry of Planning and Investment's Foreign Investment Agency reported that committed foreign direct investment capital from January to October was 12.79 billion, down 41.9% against the same period last year. There were 752 newly registered projects and 210 expanded projects, down 19.1% and 34.4% against the corresponding period, respectively. However, analysts said that the decline did not mean Vietnam was less attractive to foreign investors, but it reflected downward global FDI inflows. According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, global FDI in the third quarter declined against the second quarter and the same period last year, after 4 quarters of slow recovery in the wake of global financial crisis. Although the economy was facing challenges like high inflation, trade deficits, a weakened local currency, and poor infrastructure, many foreign investors appreciated the nation's growth potential. Vietnam was ranked 12th for attracting FDI among markets this year, according to a recent survey by international consulting group A.T. Kearney. The most attractive sectors were healthcare, consumer goods, financial services, energy, especially environmental-friendly energy, and high technology. The nation has set goals to balance investment among sectors and localities and draw investment in environmental protection, real estate development, and technology transfer, using preferential taxation. It will also focus on administrative reform and inadequate infrastructure and human resources, as well as increasing the professionalism of investment promotion efforts. A lot of people actually talk about, when they talk about Vietnam, they talk about Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi. But I've seen you as in TNS tracking 10 cities across Vietnam. So have you seen any sort of development in terms of population in those cities, apart from Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi?
All urban centers are growing. They may not be growing at the sort of breakneck speed, if you will, that Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City have been. But everybody, or not everybody, but again, it looks like about 1% to 0.5% is moving into the urban areas every year. And I think the best way to put it, 15 years ago, close to 60% of Vietnam's GDP was derived from agriculture. Today it's less than 25%. So obviously the jobs are all in manufacturing, commercial services, so on and so forth. And that obviously attracts the population, especially a young population.
The young population of Vietnam, yeah. Asia in general and Vietnam specifically has been talked about as having an extremely young population. Everybody talks about young population, but can you give us an overview of the pyramid of population in Vietnam so that we understand a bit more?
For the longest time, people kept on saying that about 60% of the population is under 25. Right now, 35% of the population is under 20 years old. However, in the next 10 years, 17 million new consumers aged 20 over will arrive in Vietnam.
That's 17 million. 17
million new consumers. People are living longer, and obviously after the American War in Vietnam, there was a baby boom, and it's those baby boomers are now sort of just about to turn 20, or 25. So again, there's 65% of the population that is actually of consumer age. So that's quite strong.
That's
that works
huge
out
consumer
to
market, isn't it?
56 million people. Yeah.
56 million people in the consumer market. That's a big opportunity for anyone who is going to invest into Vietnam. And how does that affect the development of different sectors and the product categories in Vietnam?
The population of Vietnam, the young population of Vietnam, has sort of grown up with MTV culture, if you will. Okay, so things like mobile phones, the latest motorcycles, internet, branded clothing, all these type of sectors are really starting to flourish here. Obviously, young people don't have the big money that older people do. So, you know, if we're talking about cars or if we're talking about real estate or so on and so forth, that hasn't been affected that much. But if we look at the biggest growing sectors, right now the biggest growing sector in Vietnam is telecoms by far. FMCG is growing at over 15%. what we're seeing today is Vietnamese are becoming more busy, okay? Because they've become more busy, they look for convenience, whether it's instant coffee or what have you. They're looking at indulgence. They're working quite hard. So maybe going for a holiday or a spa or something that is pampering to yourself. I guess the major trends are health, convenience, indulgence. A new one is what we call sort of self-expression or differentiation. I wouldn't say that the luxury market is the absolute opportunity, but there certainly is an opportunity in luxury as well.
What are opportunities for Vietnam in terms of the emerging middle class?
If you take a look at national Vietnam, in other words, the whole country, 63% of the population is what we call bottom of the pyramid. Okay. Now, this means that they're making under $200 a month. Okay, so that's a huge opportunity for mass quality or mass products. Okay, you've got about another quarter, 25%, which are middle class, and these are the people that can afford sort of almost any kind of basic product that you could in the U.S. or the U.K. because prices for those products very often are quite a bit cheaper here. Perfect example: you might pay $1 for a can of Coke in the U.S. or Australia, and here you know for a bottle of Coke you pay about 20 cents. And then you've got the upper class, and here we're talking about people, households that are making $500, $600, $700, $800 a month or more, even up, well, I mean substantially more. But then you've got about 10 to 12% there. So obviously Vietnam has come from a very low base. When I arrived here, 62% of the population was living on or below the poverty line. Today, that figure is about 14 to 20% based on how you look at inflation. Okay, but having said that, you've got you've already got 35% of the total national population, which you could consider what we consider in Canada or North America as lower middle class. And then if you think you've got 35% of 86 million people, that's a substantial market. Absolutely.
Vietnam is still one of the few emerging Asian countries with the percentage of urban population under 30% of the total population. This, together with the extreme north, south, and central regional differences, make Vietnam a market to watch in terms of marketing and distribution. The two megacities are Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi. Ho Chi Minh City is referred to as the commercial hub, while Hanoi, the capital city, is known as the political and cultural hub of the country. 78% of the rural population are earning less than 3 million dong, which is equal to about $150 per month. In urban areas, which takes up only about 30% of the population, however, the percentage of Class E and F with less than $150 household income per month stays as low as 28%. Therefore, market size will vary according to which consumer classes you're targeting. If you're targeting the ABC classes of Vietnam with household income of 6.5 million dong, equal to about $325 and above per month, Vietnam is only a 9 million population market, living mainly in urban areas. If you are targeting the bottom of the pyramid with a low-cost approach, however, the market can be as big as 56 million population market, living mainly in rural areas. There is certainly an emerging middle class that takes up 26% of the population with household income level from 3 million to 6.5 million dong, which is about $150 to $325, living mainly in urban areas. This income class is normally referred to as the aspirational consumers who will be moving into the upper classes in the future as the economy grows. I wonder though what the wealth distribution is like, so probably it would be best for you to give us an overview of the GDP of Vietnam, GDP growth rate, inflation rate from 2005 to date, and probably a forecast up to 2020.
For those of you watching at home or at work, forecasting is like throwing darts in Vietnam, so it's actually a very difficult thing to do. But having said that, Vietnam has had the third fastest GDP growth rate in all of Asia. Just in the last 4 or 5 years, incomes have doubled in Vietnam. That's almost unheard of. Mind you, we're coming from a very small base, but just even without using research figures, my salary costs for a white-collar service operation have doubled in 5 years. But then again, our business has also doubled in 5 years, so it's all quite relative. The one big problem that Vietnam faces is trying to curb inflation. Historically, inflation has been anywhere from sort of 3 to 8% here over the last 5-6 years. However, in 2008, it reached 23%.
23%.
Yeah, and that was largely due to speculation.